Hey, welcome to Up at Night Studios. This is your host, Henry Harris. I'm welcoming you to this station. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, we are going to have a good show. I really believe that because what I wanted to ask you was, are you still filing those dumb 1040 income tax forms? I'm just wondering if you're still doing it. Did you know that are over probably 100 to 30 million, or no, 30 million people that are not filing taxes at this time? Why? Because they found out some good information about why they should not file, and they've learning not to file, and people are taking advantage of the fact that it wasn't legal in the first place. Now, when I say that, people understand what I'm talking about. And what I want to do is I want to get back with you on that in just a minute after this small break, and we're going to get into why you still filing those 1040 forms. All right, welcome back to Up at Night. Hey, I got a lot to talk about, folks. I just want to talk to you personally about you filing those dumb 1040. Every year, somebody is getting in trouble with those 1040 forms, and they're doing themselves more harm than good, and they don't quite understand it. And then they do all of these things to try to jump through hoops to try to figure out how not to be in trouble with the Internal Revenue Service, and how come this is going on and how come that is going on, and why are they sending you all these crazy letters. And if you ever want answers to that, I might be able to answer some of them this evening. I can honestly say that I might have some answers for you. And hopefully, I will enlighten you and give you some great information tonight at Up at Night Studios tonight. Now, I'm just kind of wondering, folks, how many of you are still out there? You're filing these dumb 1040 forms. You never read them. You believe what your CPA tells you because they don't know anything else. You do what your attorney tell you to do because they don't know anything else. And all of these folks are in it together, and you just don't understand why things are happening the way they are. Am I right? So here's the thing. You need to start understanding your rights. Number one, you need to understand who the laws were written for. Number two, and you got to understand what people and who are they talking to. Number three, and 9 times out of 10, I can tell you this much. Every time you look at these forms or to talk to somebody about taxes, you're always thinking that they're talking to you because that's how our brain was working all these years. Come on, let's face it. This is real talk, folks. I'm talking real talk. You know, let's face it. When you was growing up, your parents took charge of everything. They shared things to give you knowledge as far as you're concerned, and they've been there to try to give you the answers that you need all the time as you was growing up. You just figured mother and father, and well, in my case, my mother and my father was there all my life until I lost my dad at the age of 35 at that time. And we had a working family. We had my mother worked, my father worked. They went to work every day. My dad would get up early in the morning, which I couldn't get up because I just couldn't see myself waking up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning to try to go to some job. But I was young and dumb, of course. And he did what he needed to do because that's what my dad did. And so every year, without a doubt, the Internal Revenue Service will send out these tax forms. They'll put little labels on the tax booklets, and they send them to your address so you can file your taxes. And at that time, really, there was no computer, so we had to do everything by mail. And so my dad would take the time every year, and he'd get those W-4s or W-2s together that the employer has sent him, and he would sit there at the dining room table, and he would fill out all of these tax forms and itemize, and you know at the end of the show, he would put the paperwork in the envelope and fold it up and make it nice and neat and put it in the envelope and put a stamp on it and mail it to the Internal Revenue Service. I think that's what most Americans did, and they followed that law, and that rule wasn't a law, little be known unto them. But my dad didn't know anything about that. I mean, most of us, we usually just follow what someone else told us. And you got to be honest with yourself. Am I right? You guys, including myself, follow what mom and dad said, or whoever raised you. You took that and said, this must be the truth because everybody's doing it. Now tell me you didn't say that. Tell me you didn't believe that. You believe that. I mean, you believe that because everybody was doing it around you. Even your friends. As soon as April 15th come around or getting close to it, everybody started talking about tax returns. Did you do your taxes? Who you going to have do your taxes? I got a friend that can do mine. They charge me a little bit of money, and they always get me some money back. Haven't you heard that before? Tell the truth. Shame the devil. Tell the truth. And so we all did it. Everybody's trying to figure out a way to keep most of their money or to not try to pay Uncle Sam some money. Okay? And we just go along with it because that's all we believed in. Your mom, your dad, your friends, everybody that's around you, almost 100% of the people around you filed the tax returns at that time, or they still do them. They say, what, death and taxes? A lot of people, for that, a lot of people, it's true. That's all they know. And so we end up following the crowd and believing that this is the way it is, and there's nothing else we can do about it but do what we do. And that's do what they said do, because, of course, they put the fear of God in us. And every year, they always show something through the media, how they done got somebody in court and made them file, try to get them for tax evasion. And then the next thing you know, it's all over the media. And so what happens is everybody gets afraid to make any kind of move other than filing their taxes. They don't want to talk about the IRS. They don't want to talk about, man, you don't have to file taxes. Because what about those people that got thrown in jail for tax evasion? See, that's just how ignorant some folks are. I said it. And the only reason why I said that is because you really don't understand what's really going on. You believe that everything that's going on around you is the truth because you saw it in your eyes. You saw it with your own eyes. You believed it, and you swallowed it hook, line, fisherman, the fisherman's boots, and his boat. You did. I mean, I did the same thing. Come on, let's face it. We all did it. We all did it. So now you got to think, what is it that I need to understand that I don't really have to do this anymore? Or I don't have to worry about filing these tax returns. Why is it that you said, Henry, that you really don't have to file? Well, it's the truth. Okay, first of all, let me share this with you. Now, all your life, and you know I'm to tell the truth because this is going to make sense when I say this. All your life, what did you hear? April 15th, got to file taxes. And every year you hear that and you start believing it is in your spirit, right? We already know. So the natural thing for you to do is just go ahead and file your tax returns and get your W-2s from your job. Then your job send them to you. Then you get them in the mail. You see how much money you made for the year. So they're expecting you to staple that to your 1040 form and sign your signature page on the 1040 where that says U.S. individual 1040 federal tax returns or whatever it says at the top. I didn't forget what it says actually because I don't file. Okay. And I got a reason for that, and I'm going to share it with you. And hopefully it'll help some of you folks out there and like I say, I'm not an attorney, but you can research it for yourself, and even you can ask questions. So if somebody tell you to jump in a lake, are you going to jump in a lake? I hope not. If the IRS tell you got to jump in a lake, are you going to jump in a lake? I hope not. But maybe some of you will. I don't know. Okay, so I'm just keeping it real. So let me explain to you something just to help you out. When you were getting your education in school, the teachers taught you arithmetic. They told you 1 + 1 was 2. You believed it, right? Because they said it enough, you believe that. Then they start teaching you multiplication. You said 6 times 2 is 12, right? You believe that because you learned that if you got the numbers right, you at least know how to count, right? That's what the teachers was there for, to teach you how to do this and how to think about this. And this is the way this is supposed to be. Okay. They taught you these things in school. Now, but they never taught you about business. They never taught you about taxes. Everybody that ran across you in your life right to this day have always believed, and 99% of the people always believed that they had to pay taxes. Am I right? Or let's put it this way, federal income taxes. All right. Did you know that when you read the top of the form that says U.S. individual 1040, did you know the U.S. they're talking about is a different U.S. and the individual that they're talking about is a different individual? When you read that, you be thinking about that must be me. You assume that you are the individual. You assume that you are U.S. Am I correct? Tell me I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. You know you did because every time I read it, it was the same way. I looked at it and said, man, you know, it says U.S. individual. It must be talking about me. I'm the individual they're referring to because it said U.S. All right, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, folks. You were probably 99 to 100% born, for instance, like in Chicago, Illinois, Kentucky, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oklahoma, Indiana, all those places, you probably was born in one of those places. And if you tell me that you were born and originated in one of those places, then you weren't born in the U.S. Oh, Henry, what you talking about? Come on, man. Tell me. You lying. I can't believe you saying that. I am telling you the truth. Okay, so here it is in a breakdown. The United States that they are referring to is not the United States that you're referring to. There's two different places. Now, I just want you to understand that you have to understand where the United States is actually located. And see, I done threw some of you off already. Y'all looking at me like you crazy. Y'all thinking something crazy. I'm just trying to get you down to the nitty gritty because you ain't never thought about this before. So I'm asking you to open up your mind a little bit. I'm asking you to think about what I'm about to say before you say, that ain't true. Think about what I'm about to say. Or when I say it, I want you to think about it. Take a deep breath. Sit down. Okay. You sitting? All right. You know about the territories of the United States? U.S. territories? U.S. Notice I said U.S. territories. It's like Guam, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa. And then those are the territories. Well, what about the district, D.C., Washington, D.C.? Washington, D.C., folks, is the district. It is the actual geographical United States, U.S. And those who live in the U.S. are considered U.S. citizens. Oh, man, you lying. Look it up for yourself. You are a U.S. citizen when you live in Washington District, Columbia. Well, what about me? I don't live in the U.S. I don't live there. So what about me? Am I still a U.S. citizen? No, you're not. You're considered a non-resident. Notice that on some of these tax returns or 1040s, they use all of these words: non-resident alien, resident alien. You ever heard about those terms? Have you thought about those? They use them for a reason. When you say non-resident or American national is a person who was born outside of the jurisdiction of the U.S. And I told you where the U.S. is located. So if you're outside of the U.S., that means you don't live in the United States. You live in a state or a colony, which could be Indiana, Illinois, San Francisco, all those places. You get it? Ah, really, Henry? Yes. You do not live in the U.S. You weren't born in the U.S. Now, I thought the United States was Chicago and San Francisco and LA and New York and Boston and all those other places. No. Anybody that lives in the states are considered state citizens, not U.S. citizens. Anybody that lives in Washington, D.C., Guam, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa are considered U.S. because they live under the sanction of the U.S. territories of the United States. Okay? Did you get that? Now, don't come telling me you didn't get it. Did you get it? I'm going to say it again. You're considered a non resident. Non residents are non residents of Washington, D.C. You do not live in Washington, D.C., and you're not residing in Washington, D.C., then you're considered a non resident because you live in a state, not the U.S., but a state. Did you get it? Now, why is it that people get in trouble from filing those stupid 1040 forms and those tax forms? I'm going to tell you. When you are filling out that 1040 form, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to read it as you're going down the line till you get all the way down to the bottom. And it asks you for your signature on the signature page. Look it up for yourself. It will simply tell you that you need to sign this paper or form under penalties of perjury. So, what happens when you file or sign that name or your name on the line that says signature and then it says sign this under penalties of perjury? Penalties of perjury meaning this is a sworn affidavit. Meaning when you sign it, you waive your Fifth Amendment privilege. You're witnessing against yourself. And believe it or not, when they talk about Wesley Snipes and all those other people that got locked up, 9 times out of 10, when they signed those forms, they swore an oath. They took an oath and they swore under penalties of perjury that this document is true, and the Internal Revenue says you're giving us jurisdiction as if you were a U.S. citizen, and so we're going to treat you as a U.S. citizen. So you gave them jurisdiction, even though you didn't live in Washington, District of Columbia, or none of the United States. You lived outside of the United States. That's how they get you. They expect you every year to file those dumb things. They expect you every year to send that form in with your signature on it. In fact, just fill out the form and send the form in without signing it and then find out what happens next. What do you think will happen? Honestly. You think they'll accept that form? I don't think so. They're not going to accept that form at all. They're going to be like, you got to sign it first. Did you know that your signature is like gold? It has a lot of power to it. It has so much power to it that when you put your signature on it, that means you agree, you believe that it is, and it's so. And when you put your signature on it because it's like gold, you gave them permission to agree with you that you are a U.S. citizen and you have a right as a U.S. citizen, and we need to tax you as a U.S. citizen because you gave them that permission. That's how a lot of people get in trouble with the U.S. or the United States. And you give them jurisdiction. That's how that works. So in any court of law, when they haul you off into coming to court, You telling them that you are a U.S. citizen and that you are responsible for whatever you put on the tax form or the lying form. I call it the crazy form. But anyway, you filed that form and you signed it. So you're the one are responsible for it. That you're saying that was you. Okay. See, you didn't even know. And you wondering how in the world I got to pay all these. Why is I got to pay all these taxes every year? Every time I look around, I owe them hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why is it that I owe? I done paid all this money in. Y'all still say I owe. I was at that point at one time too, till I finally got smart enough not to do it again. Okay, okay. So think about this, folks. You still filing that 1040 form because your mommy and your daddy said that you had to file every year. Your CPA said that you had to file every year. Hewlett Packard or whoever they are said that you had to file your taxes. And those same people are waiting for you every year. Notice they don't open up during the year. They open up by around April. So that's how they go into these little offices and set up for you to bring your tax returns or your 1040 form, so they can sit down there and tell you rapid refund and charge you a whole bunch of money or take your money at the end of the story. Now, not only are you trying to hurry up and get your money back because they developed this thing called rapid refund so they can get more money from you. Not on top of that, they try to get you to file your 1040 form on a regular basis. So what happened? They opened up these businesses, LLC themselves, called themselves tax preparers. They went in that name, Hewlett Packard or whatever it is they call themselves, and went talking about rapid refund. And they sat down there and opened up them office so they could make some money every year off of you. You already gave up a whole bunch of money in the last 12 months, but now you finna give them some more money. And then so you still stuck because you still following that stupid 1040 form. I mean, really. Now let's get logical. All right, I'm talking real talk, folks. You can't get mad at me because it's the truth. We talking real now. Let's be real about it. Okay? You done worked hard every day. Now, okay, let's do it in a logical sense. I'm hoping to appeal to your senses now. Okay, think about this, folks. You started a job with ABC Company. An ABC Company called you in and said, okay, we want to sit down and have an interview with you. And we want to see, what your strong points are into if we bring you on board, what can you do for us and how can you help us? Okay. So first of all, you were looking for a job because you was bored to death. You knew you had to get out there and make some type of money. And so by accepting this job, you start accepting the terms under which they gave you. Like, for instance, I'm just trying to walk you through it now. You started this job with them. They told you the hours you're going to be working. You accepted it. Remember, you're in negotiations right now when you go interview for a job. They interviewing you, and you should be interviewing them as well. You accepted the terms of the job. You accepted the hours that they give you. You accepted the pay that you was going to get paid. Now, you might not like the pay, but you had to do something so you can make some money. Okay, let's just call it what it is. You accepted it. When you accepted the terms with the ABC Company, they decided to hire you based on what you told them and what they heard you say and what you heard them say. So both of you guys were in agreement from the get go. And so they hired you on those bases. And then they said, we need you to start on Monday, so and so and so, or whatever day it was that you all agreed upon. And they said, okay, y'all shook hands. They handed you the rest of the paperwork that you had to fill out. You had to fill out all the forms for your insurance. If they had insurance, you had to fill out paperwork for a 401k. They had that. Dental insurance. If there's union fees, that had to be taken out of your check and everything else. And you had to fill out your own W-4 form, and you needed to tell that employer, because they were the collection agent for the IRS. So you needed to fill that out and tell them how much money you wanted deducted from the already agreed salary that you made with the company to take out of your check. That don't make sense, do it? Okay, in other words, they agreed to pay you $15 an hour, but they ain't saying anything about how you keep that $15 an hour, but they let you make that decision. And then when you got your check and when you start getting paid on a regular basis, you keep looking at your check and you keep saying, man, they took so much money out of my paycheck. I'm pissed off. I'm mad. Well, you shouldn't be mad, because after all, you did it. You decided that you wanted to have taxes taken out of your check, and you had the power within your grips all along. But they ain't never told you that, because they weren't going to tell you that, because you have to make up your own doggone mind. You have to decide whether or not you wanted to have those taxes taken, because they had a little word down there on the W-4 that says exempt, and you completely ignored that, and you went up to the top and you put down 1 or 2 dependents and 3 dependents and all that, and you add them up, come 4 to 5 dependents, and they said you need to have so much money taken out before the end of the year, and by the end of the year maybe you're paid in enough so that you won't have to pay the Internal Revenue Service back any money at the end of the year. Do that make sense? How do they determine that? How do they determine that you owe? I've always asked that question. How do they determine something like that? Or can you? I don't know. I asked the question, and then I looked at this little table that they have, how much money you made every year, and then they have all these lines of documents. Every $100 or so, the numbers change, and this is how much money that you're going to be taxed based on this number, But how do they determine that you owe? I don't understand it. It's all a scam. To be honest with you, it really is a scam. So, worked hard all these years. Then you turn around and you said to your wife or your significant other, you said that, baby, we gonna wait until the next year when we get our tax returns back, because you hear people saying that all the time. When I get my tax returns back, I'm going to buy a new car. Or let me tell you how society plays on it. So didn't you know that every year, and I'm sure you probably paid attention to this, they always had these big old advertisements on television that when you get your tax return, you can come to us and get your car. In other words, leave your money there and we can let you walk out with a car. Come on. Furniture places, they do the same thing. It's tax time. You could get whatever you need tax time, because we know you're going to get a refund, and you could we'll help you get your refund if you want to, and we could apply that to some furniture. It's all gimmicks, folks. Now, just think about this. Let's say you had an average of $500 every pay period, maybe 400. I don't know. Federal taxes taken out of your paycheck, and you add up 400 times how many paychecks? Maybe 52 or 12 or 18 paychecks or whatever paychecks you got. All that's taxes you done paid in. What if you saved all that money? What if you didn't have to pay taxes and you can kept that money in your bank account when it's time to go buy a new car? You ain't got to worry about the car note because you already got the money in your bank account where you can pay the car note because you can afford a brand new car. And then you say, while you working so many hours, it seems like the more I work, the more they take. Come on, folks, let's get real. And you know that's the truth. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid to ask questions? Are you afraid to ask the IRS? I wouldn't be. I wasn't afraid. They sent me a letter one time just to share that with you. And they said to me on paper, we haven't received your 1040 form yet. And I just got tired of them sending me these letters. So one day I just decided to go to the IRS and talk to somebody about it myself. It wouldn't hurt. So I ended up in the Internal Revenue Service and I asked them. The lady was at the front desk and she said, "May I help you?" I said, "Ma'am, I hope that you can." She said, "Well, what do you mean?" I say, "Ma'am, I got this letter in the mail said I didn't file my tax returns." And she said, "Well, why didn't you file them?" I said, "Ma'am, I didn't want to get in any trouble." She said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Well, ma'am, listen. I brought my checkbook just in case you say I owe some money. Okay. And the only question to me is, and I need some help with this, if you could help me." She said, "What do you need?" I say, "Can you show me the statutes and implementing regulations which make me liable to file a tax return or to pay a tax?" And she said, "Oh, we got that." I say, "Really?" I say, "Ma'am, you don't know how long I've been waiting and looking for this." I said, "Can you go get it? I'll be sitting right over there." And so when I went and sat down, the lady just disappeared, went on the back. I waited, and I waited, I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And you know, she never returned. She never came back. And I was very disappointed. Folks, if you know how to ask the right questions and not be afraid of them, learn how to ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. My mother used to tell me all the time, "Boy, you always asking questions." I say, "Man, yeah, I know, because I want to know. I want to know. If I don't ask questions, I don't know. So can you answer my question, Mom?" Okay. So all I'm saying to you folks is, if you still filing that 1040 and you wondering why you owe so much to the federal government, you had all sorts of options, but you just didn't know it. And because you didn't know it, and you were committing fraud along with the federal government, claiming that you was a federal employee and or a U.S. citizen, which you didn't really live in the United States in the first place, you're committing fraud just as much as they are, under penalties of perjury. So why would they even have you to even file under as under penalties of perjury and actually have you to file that? Why would they do that? It sounds like a trap to me. Doesn't it sound like a trap to you, under penalties of perjury? Why can't they just take your word for it and just just give them the form and say, "I turned it in," and that's it? No, but they want you to obligate yourself. They want you to put yourself in trouble. with them. So, look, folks, you got to let's get real. It's the truth. Now, I know the truth hurts, but wouldn't you rather have the truth than a lie any day? Look at him lying about the presidential race. They still talk. Trump's still talking about the election was stolen from him. That's a lie out of the pit of hell. If you start listening to lies, you're going to be in trouble. The whole world is going to be in trouble. Stop listening to lies and follow your heart and listen to the truth, folks. The truth will set you free, and you shall be free indeed. It's the truth. Now, if you want to continue to still file 1040 forms, go ahead. Keep on. I ain't knocking it. Do what you do. I ain't mad at you, but I hope you heard what I said, and I hope you listened. And I hope that it gave you some hope, because after all, the truth always stand up for righteousness. And if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, well, I can be wrong sometimes, but not on this case. 1040s, IRS, it's not illegal to pay taxes, folks. Not if you sign it. That's why they have the legal right to do something to you, because you signed it. You agree with them. You went under contract with them. And that's why they got you. But there's another cause that you can get free called the ROE. It's called a revocation of election. I filed my revocation of election a couple of years ago, and I told the Internal Revenue I simply was not going to volunteer anymore. It always have been voluntary. But when I found out the truth, I decided I didn't want to volunteer anymore. And that's what the ROE does. And if you ever want to get to understand, if you ever want to, get free and get an ROE, what you can do is you can simply email me. Email me at henryharris021@gmail.com with some contact information. I got a friend. Her name is Kelly Alexander. She will help you walk through the process of getting yourself a revocation of election, getting it filed with the Internal Revenue Service to state your case and that you wish to unvolunteer. You had volunteered when you filed your 1040 form. You know that, right? You didn't know that. Now you know it. And you can unvolunteer. It's the truth. Kelly Alexander will help you. I will get you her information if you simply email me again at henryharris021@gmail.com. If you do that and send me an email, I'll respond to your email and send you some information, and I'll refer you to her, and she will help you out to get out of the tax system. In fact, I will send you a link to her if you just send me your information or your email address and send it to me, and then I will send you in turns her link to her website and get you guys out of the situation that you're in. How much more freer can you be if you never had to file any more tax returns or pay any more tax dollars? Oh, that's your money. All they are doing is enslaving you, and you're paying taxes on your own labor, your own body, which is illegal in the sense. But you didn't know that. 99% of all Americans never had to file an income tax form, period. They never had to pay income taxes. But we were led to believe that, and that's why people do it today. It is the biggest scam that's been out there for many, many, many years. The tax system started in 1913. when the IRS was formed for the Treasury Department to help collect money to pay off debt. The Federal Reserve note that you have in your back pocket is a debt. It's a note, it's a debt, it's nothing but debt. And they use that in society because of the value. The value of the money is not as big as you think it is. They give you the Federal Reserve notes so you can use that to buy and to sell. And they took away the gold and the silver. Okay? They gave you paper. Paper is really worthless. It's nothing but debt. And they figure out a way to keep all the gold and silver, to keep you poor, to keep you underneath their thumb, and to keep you just barely living. So, folks, we need to change that, especially black folks. Black folks need to get up on it. We don't never read anything. We'll just go by what everybody else say. That's just like having a meal, folks. Somebody went to a good restaurant, they recommended it to you, and then you end up going and then find out the food wasn't as good as you thought it was. You know that's the truth. So I'm only being honest. If you like honesty, if you like people being real with you and telling the truth as is, you're welcome to come back to my station or not. UpAtNightStudios.com. You can find me online and you can listen to some of my audio files if you wish. I'm going to be live streaming a lot as much as I can. And I want to get this information out to folks like you. You deserve to hear the truth. And I want to thank you again for listening to me at Up at Night Studios. And I want to say thanks again. If you see my videos, my live stream, if you listen to it, please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a thumbs up. Tell other folks about this information that you got from me. I don't mind you sharing it. I want to share it with you. I think anybody that knows something should share something that help other people. And that's what I'm all about, folks. Again, thank you for visiting my website at Up at Night Studios. And I'm going to say good night at Up at Night. Thank you.